The trip to space wasn't just an adventure, it was a revelation. To be candid, when the opportunity first came my way, I saw it largely as an exclusive experience, an extravagant perk, something that few would ever have the privilege to do. I never expected it would change my perspective on life and business in the way that it did. But once you've crossed the threshold of Earth's atmosphere, and you're looking back at the planet from a vantage point most will never know, you realize how deeply it shifts everything you thought you understood about the world. Before space, I spent my life focused on growth, more wealth, more influence, more market share. Success was always about the next deal, the next venture, the next big win. Every negotiation was about maximizing value, pushing forward to the next summit. For someone like me, who spent decades in the high-stakes world of finance and industry, that drive to keep building, keep expanding, was practically programmed into my DNA. But that drive, that hunger for more, started to feel irrelevant as soon as I saw Earth from orbit. It's not like I was unacquainted with the challenges facing the world. I've invested in clean energy projects, I've been involved in sustainability initiatives, and I've donated to causes that support environmental preservation. But when you're running a company, making strategic moves, thinking about quarterly results, you don't always have the time to step back and see the full picture. You don't always take the long view. You're focused on immediate returns, on risk management, on navigating the complexities of a world that feels, at times, like it's accelerating faster than you can keep up with. Space gave me the kind of perspective that's nearly impossible to grasp from the ground. In the moments after leaving Earth's atmosphere, everything changes. It's hard to describe the feeling, but it's an overwhelming sense of awe, mixed with an undeniable, humbling realization. As we ascended, I couldn't help but think about how long humans had been trying to conquer the skies, how much effort we had put into going beyond what we knew, to defy gravity, to reach the stars. We've managed to send probes to distant planets, to learn more about the cosmos. But there we were, just a small group of people in a spacecraft, seeing Earth as it had been seen by so few. The first time I looked out the window and saw the curve of the Earth, a tiny blue ball in the vastness of space, was a moment I'll never forget. It was beautiful in a way I couldn't have imagined, and it was humbling. In that moment, you realize just how fragile everything we know is. The Earth is a small, vulnerable planet suspended in the black void. Our atmosphere is thin, barely visible from space, and yet it is everything that sustains us. It hit me like a ton of bricks. We take so much for granted, as if Earth were invincible, as if we could keep extracting resources, exploiting the land, burning fossil fuels indefinitely. The reality of how finite and delicate our planet is, how small we are in the grand scheme of the universe, became crystal clear. What's striking, and I'll admit almost unsettling, is that from space, all the things we prioritize on Earth, the political squabbles, the business rivalries, the conflicts over territory, the pursuit of wealth, just fade away. They're insignificant. You see the Earth as one connected system, and you realize that all the things we fight over, money, power, influence, are tiny in comparison to the vastness of the universe. Our problems are big to us, yes, but in the cosmic context, they become minuscule. You can't unsee that. As I gazed out, I began to reconsider everything I thought I knew about business. As entrepreneurs, we're often taught to think in terms of competition, how to outmaneuver, outsmart, and outperform the opposition. Space forced me to question that. It became clear that we, as a species, can't afford to operate in isolation. Space travel made me see that humanity's future is far too interconnected to allow ourselves to remain divided. The reality is, whether we like it or not, we are all in this together. Whether it's fighting climate change, managing global supply chains, or navigating political tensions, the solutions to our most pressing problems will require collaboration, not competition. I also thought a lot about our relationship with resources. On Earth, resources are often treated as commodities, things to be extracted, used, and discarded. As a businessman, I've made my share of investments in industries that rely on finite resources: oil, metals, land. But in space, I understood, more viscerally than ever, the fundamental truth that there's no planet B. Our resources are finite. Our time is finite. And once we deplete the ecosystems that sustain us, there is no simple solution to getting them back. The thing is, the realization didn't hit me all at once. It was like a slow burn. It started with that first awe-inspiring view of Earth, but it continued to settle in over the course of the trip, and after I returned. Space changes you not just because of what you see, but because of what you start to feel. You start to feel responsible for what you see. You realize that every decision you make in business has consequences, often far-reaching ones, whether you can see them or not. And it's not just about the financial consequences anymore. It's about the broader implications, the environmental impact, the social cost, the potential long-term damage we can't always anticipate from the safety of our boardrooms. In those moments when I was looking out into the black void, I thought about the companies I've built, the industries I've been part of, and the legacy I wanted to leave behind. And I realized something that now feels incredibly obvious. True success is no longer about what we take, but what we give back. It's about using our resources responsibly, about thinking sustainably, about creating products and services that help preserve the world for future generations. It's about building a future where profit doesn't come at the expense of the planet. The way I approach risk, too, shifted drastically. I used to think about risk in strictly financial terms: how much capital to invest, how much return to expect, what the odds of success were. But in space, you realize that risk isn't just about money. It's about sustainability. It's about whether the investments we're making today will allow for a future tomorrow. The stakes are higher than ever. Risk, in the context of space, isn't just about whether a business succeeds or fails. It's about whether we collectively succeed or fail as a species. Space also gave me a new appreciation for the fragility of human progress. We've achieved remarkable things: landing on the moon, building skyscrapers, connecting the world through technology. But when you see Earth from space, you can't help but realize how easily all of it could be undone. Environmental collapse, economic instability, nuclear war, all of these are real threats, and they are interconnected. As a businessman, it made me ask, how do I want to be remembered? As someone who chased short-term gains, or as someone who contributed to the long-term well-being of the planet and its people? That thought process has changed the way I make decisions. I no longer see success solely in terms of revenue or market share. It's about building systems, relationships, and businesses that are resilient, businesses that adapt to the changes in the world rather than exploiting them. We need to focus on creating value, not just for our shareholders, but for humanity, for the planet, and for future generations. I came back to Earth with a deeper sense of urgency. The problems we face, climate change, environmental degradation, geopolitical conflict, can't be solved through individual efforts alone. They demand global collaboration, global solutions, and an understanding that we are all bound to this planet. From space, you can see that more clearly than ever. There is no us and them. There is only we, and there is no time to waste. The universe is vast, and in the grand sweep of it, Earth is a tiny speck. But in our day-to-day lives, it's easy to forget just how precious that speck is. Space didn't just give me a new perspective. It gave me a new responsibility. A responsibility to ensure that the world we leave behind isn't one that's been irreparably damaged by the same short-sightedness that often drives business. It's time we all think bigger, because the future of humanity depends on it.